Well, I started my military career at the United States Air Force Academy. I graduated from there as a second lieutenant in the Air Force and went almost directly to pilot training for another year. So I spent a large part of my career in the Air Force flying airplanes all around the world, teaching people to fly airplanes, and with a couple of detours into some non-flying jobs, including a job on Guam, which is pretty great, and a really fantastic job in the Pentagon working for Secretary Rumsfeld and Secretary Gates. I come from a military family. My dad was a career Army officer, but he was an aviator within the Army, so I always had this sort of passion for service. Sometimes it's hard in a 20-year career to pick out some of the highlights, but something that made me think, wow, that was really cool. I sometimes credit it as sort of changing my life. It certainly changed my worldview. And this was in Pakistan. I had some time down and decided to jump on the helicopters with the guys doing relief missions and just try to go be a part of that. And we were gradually moving up the mountains, getting refueled, getting food, and each way we would meet these volunteers. And these volunteers worked for non-government organizations. These are people who have never served in the military, have what we call civilian jobs, and that give their 2 weeks of vacation every year to go volunteer in some far-off country to give out medicine or to just support other people that are helping a cause. And I was really moved by that, because you start to realize that you're not the only person who's out there trying to make the world a better place, and really change the way I see how you use the powers that you have to influence change. We put a lot of effort into transitioning people from their civilian life into the military, and it takes a little while to transition us back out. Sometimes it can be a struggle. When we leave the military, we lose 3 things: a sense of community, a sense of purpose, and a sense of identity. And unlike what I'm finding in civilian employment, in corporate employment, those things were all embedded in what we did. One of the ways that I've been able to fill that void for me is our Veterans Employee Group, our Veterans Business Resource Group at BP. To be surrounded by other people who are having a similar experience or have a similar background, who might use the same jargon once in a while, who might occasionally get frustrated by the civilian ways of working versus military, it's very meaningful. So of course we like to get involved in the community, try to help other veterans whenever we can. So that gives us that sense of purpose. I think leadership is recognizing that it isn't about you, that it's about something bigger that you and all of your colleagues and subordinates and superiors are a part of, and finding a way in whatever level or position you are to enable the entire group to move toward that greater thing, that greater objective. My hope is that we are able to be a part of sort of changing the narrative or elevating the narrative about the role veterans play in our community. I think all too often, even with really great intentions, the message sometimes is that, veterans need help, and that veterans, maybe that we should pity and give charity to veterans, when in actuality, veterans are leaders. Veterans continue to serve other people in their community. And I hope that in my position, in our company, and that even beyond wherever I have influence, that we're able to just kind of tweak that narrative just a little bit to make sure that we're honoring veterans as continuing to be community leaders. And for BP, of course, Houston, there's no more important community than Houston, and there's no more important leaders than veterans. So one of the things I'm working on right now is we have, the BP LIH2015, kind of our premier sponsor event, and we had 15 riders from Semper Fi Fund and America's Fund come in and ride with us. These are wounded, critically ill, injured service members. They're going to come in, they're going to ride 180 miles like it's no big deal, and they're going to do it to help find a cure for MS. I know, I'm very proud whenever we can sort of celebrate the triumph of ability over disability and just raise that narrative. That's why I really love the work that I do at BP. We're Paralympic sponsors and very dedicated to moving the needle in that space, and that means that we're very involved with wounded warriors, knowing that recovery through sport is this tremendous, powerful tool to give them the resiliency and the confidence to know that, honestly, since I've started this job, I don't even know what the word disability means anymore, because when I see these people who would be called disabled in a conversation, I see nothing but ability, sometimes more ability than they had before they were injured. So I think that's one of the things that I'd like to be a part of, just helping to change that narrative and helping to honor veterans as the community leaders that we know that they are.